Well, good morning, my friend, and welcome to the Pastor's Podcast on this Friday morning, coming to you just a little bit earlier than normal. I have a busy day today, and so I've got to get some things really kind of going a little bit earlier than normal. And I hope that you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week wherever you are. We've had a good week here at the Maranatha Baptist Church, busy one. We were, of course, yesterday went out soul winning, taught in the college a little bit, and then staff meeting, and then just meeting up with a good preacher friend of mine and seeing how God is doing with him, and then get home last night and get some things done here at the office here last night and spend some time with the wife. And always a good thing to be able to serve the Lord, stay busy. My friend, the busier you stay, the easier it is to stay out of trouble. And I'd encourage you to do so. And here we are. We're at the end of another week. Man, weeks fly by, don't they? And that's why it's time to stay busy serving the Lord. Let's do what's right. That way we can say at the end of life, we can say, I packed my life. My life was full of days, not just years, but days where every day did something great. That's what you want to do. And of course, looking forward to this weekend, seeing what God's going to do the last Sunday that we have before our campaign starts. And I'm looking forward to being able to stir some people. Let's do something great for God this fall. I am excited about that. Hope that you are, Maranatha Baptist Church. Let's be in our place. Soul winning tomorrow morning, 9:30. We got the funeral tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock for Brother Gossman. Then church on the following day. Let's stay busy. Let's do what we're supposed to do, and let's be in our place, and let's see what God can do in our lives. Well, today, let's read from Revelation chapter 14 and verse 13. Now, I want to just stop right here and say something. When I say revelation, a lot of people like to say revelations. There is no revelations. It's a singular word, revelation. One revelation. Here it is right here. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 13, the scripture says, And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. Life is short, and I would hate to have nothing to show for what I did in this life for God when I get into eternity. I truly want my life to count for Christ. Imagine God gave you the gift of life, and then you have nothing to show what you did for God in this life when you get to heaven. Now, what a terrible thing. Now, you can show man what you have done on earth with and there's nothing wrong with this. You might have cars and homes and financial accounts and say, well, I've got all this. But those things are temporary. They're temporal. And they're not going to follow you into eternity. Nothing is really going to count for life, the life that you've lived, unless you've laid up something or in eternity. I think of the rich man who lived his life with the fancies of this world, but the moment he died, he lifted up his eyes in torment as he burned in hell. I think of the rich young ruler who had accomplished everything that this world would say brings happiness. But Jesus made it clear that this rich young man would have nothing in eternity, that when he died, it was all gone. Now, your purpose for living ought to be blessed when you die. God says, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord. Now, three things makes a person blessed when they die. And all three things, now listen now, it's a package deal. You can't choose one or the other, package deal. So the first step to being blessed when you die is to be in the Lord. In other words, get saved. It doesn't matter how much good you have done on earth. It will not matter if you die without Christ. You'll spend an eternity in a devil's hell. You see, it does not matter how many possessions you've collected, how much wealth you've accumulated, how many homes you may have amassed. These things mean nothing if you're not saved. The most critical step to being blessed is to get saved. I'd hate to be someone of wealth, live my whole life without accepting Christ and have all these things and even help a lot of people and never accept Christ and die and burn in a devil's hell. The first step to being blessed when you die is to get saved. No matter whether you're wealthy or poor, no matter whether you live in a home or you live on the street, no matter whether you're a well-known person or no one even knows you. The only thing that really matters in life, first thing that really matters is, are you saved? I mean, you got to get your eternity settled in heaven. That's what really matters. And if you don't know that, you contact me and I'll share the gospel with you and show you how you can get saved. But you got to get saved. The second step to being blessed is to labor for the Lord. Now, there are many hardworking believers who will not die blessed because they never labored for the Lord. Oh, they'll be in heaven, but their labors are wasted on earthly things rather than things that will last for an eternity. I'd hate to think that I worked hard on the job, but did nothing for Christ and died being known as a hard worker for the world, but didn't do anything for my God. Every believer ought to be a hard worker, but you ought to be sure to use your hard labors to serve the Lord. The labors for which you labor for the Lord are the only labors that will make an impact in eternity. And only the labors that will, and they will be the only labors that will truly help you to be blessed when you die. Yes, you ought to work hard. And yes, you ought to be known as a hard worker on the job, but you ought also be known as a hard worker in the church and for serving God. That same effort you give to the world ought to be towards serving God, because that's the only way you'll be blessed inside of life, my friend. There's a lot of people, hard work. I think there's some men in my church, hardworking men, but they're not really doing much for the Lord. And it breaks my heart because they're going to die one day and they're going to get to heaven and they're going to look back. So, man, I put all that effort into working hard in the world and I didn't do anything for God. And I could have had rewards up here in heaven, and they won't because they didn't work hard for serving the Lord. Yes, you ought to be a hard worker on the earth. And by the way, you can say, well, I give my time serving God, but if you're not working hard on the job, you're just as backslidden. I'm saying you ought to be a hard worker in both worlds, both in your job and in serving God. Be a laborer for God and in the world. The third step to being blessed is to have works that will follow you into heaven. Now, what you have built for God that will give, what you have to ask, what have you built for God that will give you fruit to follow you to heaven when you die? You need to ask yourself that question. Have you led anyone to Christ? Have you built a Sunday school class? Have you done anything for God that will really count? My friend, at the end of the day, you want your works to follow you. You want to be able to say, when I get to heaven, people are going to still follow me to heaven because I've invested in their life and they're laboring and they're seeing fruit that remains. That's what you want. Just because you've died does not mean that you've got to stop being fruitful for eternity's sake. You lead people to Christ, and as you go to heaven, they continue to lead people to Christ. Guess what? You got fruit that follows you to heaven. My friend, that's a wonderful thing to have. Now, soul winning is the greatest labor that will help you to have fruit that follows you to heaven. Anybody can be a soul winner, but you can also multiply that fruit that follows you by building a ministry. Maybe it's a bus route, a Sunday school class that will allow you to invest in more lives. So yes, be a soul winner. That's wonderful. That'll allow you to have fruit that follows you to heaven. Be blessed. But you can multiply that fruit by not only being a soul winner, being a Sunday school teacher, a bus worker, a ministry worker, someone that ministers to multiple lives at one time so that fruit can follow to heaven. Now you need to ask yourself, are you blessed? First of all, are you saved? Second, do you really labor for the Lord? Are you laboring for the Lord? Are you just filling a pew on Sunday? Are you only, maybe some of you don't even fill the pew Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, just Sunday morning. You got to be faithful to church, but labor for the Lord. And third step is you got to say, I want to be blessed. I want my works to follow me to heaven. And so I'm going to be a soul winner. I'm going to get involved in my church. And when you get involved in your church, you're investing in all these lives. And one day you're going to die. And when you're in heaven, fruit's going to follow you to heaven. Your life will still be a blessed life because the fruit that you got on earth will continue to produce, which allows it to come to you in heaven. Oh, what a great investment to have. I hope that you will decide, I want to be a blessed dead man one day when I die. I hope that's your desire. Let's do our best to be this type of person, and God will be pleased with our lives. Well, I want to challenge you today. Be good to everyone. Everyone's having a tough time. Have a great weekend. And be sure to try to do your best to lead someone to Jesus Christ. Have a